When did I know I wanted to be a conductor? Well, I know that I told a member of my family, an auntie, when I was about 9 years old, that I said, actually, I want to do that job. I was very, very young, and I didn't really understand it. I started to play the piano, and I started to play the oboe as a member of this choir. But something about what I was hearing and feeling from this orchestra, I thought, actually, it's the magic of this sound, of this instrument that you can play. And you know, I went through my schooling, I went off to university, and even at that stage, I wasn't really conducting at all. I was doing the odd bit of conducting when someone would, you know, stupid enough would let me have a go. But I was playing the piano very seriously. I was playing piano concertos with my university orchestra, and then I was taking very serious piano studies in London with some very good teachers. And the conducting thing was on the back burner, really, and I didn't really get started until the end of my university career. Well, home is very many places. You know, I'm very lucky. Sarah and I have recently moved to a fantastic house, a very modest house, but it's right for the location. It's in London, and it's by the Angel, and it's very close to the centre of town. And of course, as Sarah reminded me last year, I'm talking about 2010, she said, you know, you've certainly been in Perth more often than you've been in London. And that's very true. And of course, you know, this is very much my second home. I think that's something that a lot of musicians would agree with, you know, the idea, or indeed a lot of performers, you know, the idea that quite a lot of your work indeed is so much part of your soul that actually, you know, if you're on the concert hall, it's almost like your home as well. That's a really tough balance to make for some people. You know, we become so involved with our work. It's not just a job, ever. You know, it becomes such an intense part of your life that you actually do feel that the place you're most grounded is in almost sitting in the stalls in that theatre, or sitting in the, you know, backstage, or being on that stage. What's great is, you know, in Perth you say, oh, the winter's coming, we're preparing for the winter, it's going to be really hard and it's going to be cold. And of course, generally speaking, it's like about 7 or 8 weeks long. You know, that you've got to find a pullover or a cardigan or maybe a fleece, something, I don't know. Anyway, it's so bizarrely brilliant, this weather. It's so amazingly relaxing, of course, for someone from us from Europe, from the cold north, you know, from England particularly, to be able to come here and think, actually, you can just relax. The first time I came to WASO was actually in the 90s, and I was on an ABC tour. It was very much an ABC orchestra in those days, and I came here for 2 weeks. I've been on the famous ABC kind of emergency, urgent, fast tour that you go everywhere, and you know, you seem to be doing a concert in one place at the same time as rehearsing in another city. And I started in Sydney. I think practically everywhere. We went everywhere, and there was one period in 2 weeks where I did 3 separate orchestras in 2 weeks, which was tough. And then at the end of this 6 weeks or so, I arrived in Perth. I had 2 weeks in Perth, so we had 2 separate weeks of concerts. And we did 1 week, which was a contemporary week, and we played some George Benjamin and some Schoenberg. The Schoenberg was actually the Australian premiere of a piece that had been written 100 years ago. So it was amazing to feel that you were pioneering as an orchestra with me. You know, we were doing that together. So that was then. And then there was a long period when I was doing a lot of work with my principal jobs in the UK. I was at Opera North, and then I was principal conductor of the English Orchestra, the English Northern Philharmonia, and then I went to London as chief at English National Opera, and so on. A lot of guest conducting in Europe around that time as well, and I didn't have time or the opportunity to come back to Australia. But then in 2006, there was just this one opportunity. Please, will you come and conduct the Perth Orchestra again? I remember exactly the same feelings, the sense that it was this sense of really strong foundations for the orchestra within the city, and the orchestra within the hall, which of course, you know, we all come to Perth, and every conductor and soloist comes through and says, oh my goodness, I had no idea, you know, we've heard about this hall, but my goodness, what an acoustic. And it's true, you know, there's no hall in London that can show off an orchestra and develop the sound of an orchestra that an orchestra can play with, you know, within the hall as good as it is here.